The Secret History of the Mongols is the oldest surviving Mongolian-language literary work. It was written for the Mongol royal family some time after Genghis Khan's death in AD 1227, by an anonymous author and probably originally in the Uyghur script, though the surviving texts all derive from transcriptions, translations into Chinese characters dating from the end of the 14th century, compiled by the Ming dynasty under the name The Secret History of the Yuan Dynasty, also known as Tobchiyan in the history of Yuan. The Secret History is regarded as the single most significant native Mongolian account of Genghis Khan. Linguistically, it provides the richest source of pre-classical Mongolian and Middle Mongolian. The Secret History is regarded as a piece of classic literature in both Mongolia and the rest of the world. Content. The work begins with a semi-mythical genealogy of Temujin's family. The description of Temujin's life begins with the kidnapping of his mother, Holan, by his father Yeshugay. It then covers Temujin's early life, the difficult times after the murder of his father, and the many conflicts against him, wars, and plots before he gains the title of Genghis Khan in 1206. The latter parts of the work deal with the campaigns of conquest of Genghis and his third son Ogedei throughout Eurasia. The text ends with Ogedei's reflections on what he did well and what he did wrong. It relates how the Mongol Empire was created. It contains 12 chapters: Temujin's origin and childhood, Temujin's teenage years. Temujin destroys the Merkit and takes the title Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan struggles against Jamukha and Tao-Yi-Chi-Ud. Genghis Khan destroys the Tartars and tangles with Ong Khan. Destruction of the Kiryat, the fate of Ong Khan, escape of Kuchlug and defeat of Jamukha, establishment of the empire and imperial guard, conquest of the Uyghur and forest peoples, conquest of China, the Tanghut, the Sartul, Baghdad and Russia, Temujin's death and Ogedei's reign. Several passages of The Secret History appear in slightly different versions in the 17th-century Mongolian chronicle Altan Tobchi, rediscovery and translations. The only surviving copies of the work are transcriptions of the original Mongolian text with Chinese characters, accompanied by inline glossary and a translation of each section into Chinese. In China, the work had been well known as a text for teaching Chinese to read and write Mongolian during the Ming dynasty, and the Chinese translation was used in several historical works. But by the 1800s, copies had become very rare. Bavude Zendgun was the first Mongolian scholar to transcribe The Secret History of the Mongols into modern Mongolian, in 1915–17. The first to discover the secret history for the West and to offer a translation from the Chinese glossary was the Russian sinologist Palady Kafrov. The first translations from the reconstructed Mongolian text were done by the German sinologist Erich Hanisch and Paul Pelliot. B.I. Pankratov published a translation into Russian in 1962. Later, Zundian Damdanshuran transcribed the chronicle into Kharka-Mongolian in 1970. Arthur Whaley published a partial translation of The Secret History, but the first full translation into English was by Francis Woodman Cleaves. The Secret History of the Mongols, for the first time done into English out of the original tongue and provided with an exegetical commentary. The archaic language adopted by Cleaves was not satisfying to all, and, between 1972 and 1985, Igor Derachawils published a fresh translation in 11 volumes of the series Papers on Far Eastern History, accompanied by extensive footnotes, commenting not only on the translation but also various aspects of Mongolian culture. In 2015, Derachawils published an open-access version of his previous translation 2009, The Secret History of the Mongols, a Mongolian epic chronicle of the 13th century, that is a full translation but omits the extensive footnotes of his previous translations. The Secret History of the Mongols has been published in translation in over 30 languages by researchers. In 2004, the government of Mongolia decreed that the copy of The Secret History of the Mongols covered with golden plates was to be located to the rear part of the government building.